It's 6:05 and I'm calling this meeting to order. First item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to approve guaranteed maximum price for Troutman Elementary School classroom, wing, and building renovations. Mr. Langel?
You want to call tennis first?
Oh, shoot, sorry. Yes, I was too busy. I'm Minnie Dora Haynes, and I'm present.
Erasmo Villarreal, present.
Lalo Uribe, present.
Fred Villarreal, present.
Yes, we have a quorum, thank you.
Good evening, members of the Bond Oversight Committee, members of the audience. Tonight, the administration brings one of the projects on the bond as far as additions and renovations at Troutman Elementary School. This project, other than the additions and renovations at Alexandria High School, this is the second largest project in the entire bond program. We've been working for the last several months with a design committee composed of teachers and administrators from Troutman Elementary School. This is a construction management at risk project. Line-Decker Construction is the CMAR that was approved by the board, and the architects are Munoz and Architects from and associates from San Antonio. As you see on the overhead slide, we do have a budget that is composed of two different phases on that campus. Additions and renovations consisting of $3,650,000, and HVAC, all the air conditioning, heating system for the entire campus. So we had a total budget of $4,358,300. This is only for construction. There's other funds for furniture, equipment, and design fees, and other associated costs. At this time, working to the architects and the CMAR, the construction management at risk, plans are at 75% complete, so they were able to provide a fairly detailed guaranteed maximum price. And what we did, we have a basic part of it, of the project, which is the classroom wing addition. That was the main project, was the largest project at that campus. And as you see there, we have several items included on the GMP. The largest part will be the 16 classroom wing addition. We also had, as part of what the committee back in 2013 requested, is to enclose the front breezeway. There is an open area, it does have a covered canopy between the kinder wing and the main building. And what the committee was very concerned about safety and security, and they wanted to enclose that. So we have a design that we'll share with you in a minute, and that's included also in this GMP. Also, we have included in here some restrooms in the lower area. Now, that part of the guaranteed price was not in the original scope of work that had been provided or requested by during the meetings with the Bond Citizens Committee. But while we were conducting all the sessions with the design committee of teachers and staff, that came up as something that they really felt was necessary due to the reason that the lower classrooms, which is about 34 classrooms, currently don't have any restrooms for staff. There are student restrooms, but there's nothing, no restroom facilities for any of the teachers or any of the staff. They have to go to the upper level, and there's only really one restroom facility. So they felt this was the time to really upgrade the campus. By the way, Troutman Elementary School was built in the early 70s. It's about 42 years old campus. We have made some additions, renovations over the years, of course, but this is really to bring it up to par with the rest of our new prototype schools. If you look at the cost breakdown, there is an alternate one, which is those restrooms that I mentioned in the lower level. And we are recommending including that to the base proposal. There is a second alternate that we'll discuss in a minute also. It's about building a new gymnasium. The current gymnasium the campus has, it really doesn't meet our new standards for our new elementary schools. Even though it was not part of the bond back in 2013, because things had to be prioritized at the time. But the committee highly recommended for the bond oversight and the board to consider this project. Now we broke it down as to what are all these phases of construction renovation are costing per square foot. The new classroom wing If you could see here, if you figure the square footage that is being built, at the cost provided, it's about $136 per square foot. That is turnkey, including with all site work, the entire building. That cost does not include the design fees, but just construction, everything. Turnkey, ready to move in. We compared it, very detailed analysis as to what the IRIS means construction index for 2015 for this type of new construction. And the handbook calls for Laredo for $165 a square foot. So we felt it's a very competitive price that we're being provided because it includes fire alarms, fire sprinkler system, energy management systems, air conditioning, all the plumbing, restrooms, everything. So it's very, very competitive price at $136 a square foot. Now, as far as the demolition, which is called the breezeway at this time, demolish all those areas, use just the roof, existing canopy, and build new administrative offices at that area. Because based on what the committee had requested for safety and security, they wanted to make sure that there was only one entrance to the campus. Right now, you can go in through many areas. To that, if you're not familiar with the campus, it's been added piecemeal, so there are different ways to go in and out. So, including to the basement. By doing this enclosure, we would be able to have one point of entrance where we would have our peace officer monitor who goes in and out, and have the security and the access control. That renovation is costing what they're proposing at $158 per square foot. The IRS mean calls for about $172 per square foot. It is a little somewhat higher because this one involves demolition and working around existing elevations and roof structures. So it's a little more involved, plus there's quite a bit of plumbing also, and we'll see in a minute. Now, the project schedule, if approved, recommended by the committee and approved by the school board, would be to start this summer by August 2015. June and July, we would have to spend in relocating some existing portable buildings at that campus, because the wing is going to be built basically where the portable classroom buildings are located. And it is an entire year project for the wing, as well as the air conditioning project. By the way, the air conditioning, what was included in the design was to replace all of the air conditioning units, heating, ventilation in the entire campus for all the classrooms. So that's included also in the guaranteed price. As well as the restrooms, that would be to be completed by August of 2016. The enclosed breezeway, since it's kind of difficult to work while school is in session, we did extend that to December 2016 because a lot of the work has to be done only on limited hours. So our recommendation of the administration is to approve this guaranteed proposal for Troutman Elementary in the amount of $4,658,215. Now here's just a list of the scope of work, which I covered the 60 new classrooms. One of those is a self-contained SLC special education classroom. We have a closing of the main entrance located between the kinder wing and the main building, replacing air conditioning in that administrative area, replacing the energy management system for the entire campus, as well as HVAC. The gym addition, again, it's an alternate. We do have a design and a cost for your consideration, and then we have the lower level staff restrooms. Here's an aerial view of Troutman Elementary. You can see there are 5 portable classroom buildings. Each building has 2 classrooms, plus a portable restroom. The main entrance is through here, and there's another entrance on the east side. It's just another view of the school. And this is where we're proposing to build a classroom wing addition. We discussed it with the administration of that campus, teachers and staff. They felt that was probably the best logistically for the entire school, as well as the area that would be enclosed would be right in this space. Right now it's just an open breezeway. We would have to relocate the 5 portable buildings for 1 year to this area, and it's tight, but there is sufficient space to have adequate, safe traffic circulation and for pedestrians as well as our students. The gymnasium that we're proposing would be right here between the wing. This is a pre-kinder wing basically, and the main loop. This is an existing drop-off pickup area for the early grade levels. Right now, the gymnasium is a small area right here. It's about 40% of the size really of the new one, because it does not have a stage or restrooms or anything in that area. Here we have a floor plan from the architect as to what, and this was after it was really designed and refined over 3 separate meetings back since October of last year with the teachers and the design committee. And basically it would be to encompass 15 first and second grade level. Most of the students are currently in portable buildings, so they would come into permanent classrooms. We do have the boys and girls restrooms. This is the SLC, self-contained classroom. It would be also, restrooms would be built for staff. Then we have the mechanical. They did request a small workroom for teachers for their planning sessions, as well as having meetings in their curriculum planning. So we did provide that space. This is an enclosed walkway. It will be secure. It's only an exit in case of an emergency, and it will be connected to the existing wing. As far as the area that would be enclosed, there will be quite a bit of demolition. There's a lot of canopies under the canopy, which were the original structures. All of that would be demolished, and this would be where the new administration area would be built. Here's a little more detail of all the offices that we would build. Currently, they're located in this area. They will be built on that open breezeway, and then it will be enclosed. Security station would be on the west. This will be the main entrance to the campus. Whenever and if the gymnasium is built, there will also be an enclosed corridor leading to a gym, but we would also have a separate entrance for after-school events. Parents could come in here without having to go into the campus. There are currently 2 existing buildings, which are these, with stairways leading to the basement area. Right now, students can go in, or anybody in the public goes in and out. After hours, once the bell rings, it is locked. Only teachers have access. But if you're going out through that building, you are on the open canopy. All of that will be incorporated so that students, when they go in, or teachers going up and down those stairways, it would be inside an enclosed building facility. Here's just more detail of what would happen on that renovated area. We do have the principal and assistant principals located now here. The new main entry with the access control. The nurse clinic is extremely small. It's in there. It's probably about a third of what we typically use. So that was one of the key requests from the design committee. So that is included in this design. We do have a restroom and a shower that's required. And then this open area, they did request additional staff restrooms. So we have that included there. This is the lower area that I mentioned earlier. Right now, these are the student restrooms, and this is really a classroom at this point. Once we build that wing, really there will be an available classroom there that could be moved to the new wing, and this space would be ideal if those classrooms for the staff are built. I don't know if Mr. Sophia, you want to mention something?
So at this point, what we're recommending, based on the GMP that was submitted, we're recommending that the Bond Oversight Committee approve, of course, the GMP for the work that was initially designed back in 2013. And then we're asking that the Bond Oversight Committee consider and possibly approve alternate number 1, which are for the restrooms downstairs. At this point, can you go back one slide?
Yes, sir.
That's $138,000.
That's correct.
This right here.
Those restrooms, there are no other restrooms on the bottom floor. At this point, there are no staff restrooms downstairs.
So the 4.6 plus the 138,000.
Right. Now, what I did is I included a little worksheet. It's in your packets. It's the last sheet in that section. And let me go through this real quick. If you, what we actually have for a construction budget is $4,308,000. The GMP for the original additions and renovations that were designed, and including a $50,000 contingency, are $4.520 million. And it's hard to tie. I know you're looking at Lalo and you're trying to tie the numbers, but we'll get to that in a few seconds. So just based on the original design, or the original, design by Munoz and Associates, we're 211,000 over.
Oh,
Okay. If we add alternate number one, which is 138,000, we have a total overage of 349,000. Now, coincidentally here, and I made some notes here, when we first designed the classroom wings and everything else, fire sprinklers were not required by code. Since then, they've made it a requirement. So where we're gonna have new construction, we're gonna have to add fire sprinkler systems. That runs roughly $200,000.
Including the renovated area under that breezeway,
Yeah.
all that will have to be.
That will have to be sprinklered. Right, and then of course, you have the cost of the alternate, which is 138,000, and the contingencies in there of 50,000. So the overage is roughly those amounts there.
well, do we still have to include in that the heating, ventilation, air conditioning?
No, that's included already
That's
in
all-
the GMP.
That's included?
Yes, sir.
already?
That's already included in the GMP.
And also the 4,658,000 includes a contingency allowance of $50,000.
On the budget information, it looks like it's separate, 4.4 plus 768,000 on the.
That's a total budget.
5.2.
But that's, I believe that's, the 5.2 is the total.
It's a total budget,
Project
including
budget.
furniture, equipment, and design fees.
Design fees, engineering fees, and so on.
Yeah, the classroom wing and enclosing the breezeway, the budget was $4,436,000. And then for the air conditioning is $768,000.
Plus alternate one
Right,
recommendation.
but those were the budgets, right?
Plus the current overage as well.
Right.
Correct.
And so you're looking at an overage of, basically on that worksheet, you're looking at 349,000.
About 350.
350.
Yeah.
If we don't use any of the contingency, it's 300, because the contingency's in there right now. So at this point, we highly recommend that this be approved. The restrooms downstairs are simply needed. They're really needed. Now, we also have a cost. As Enrique had mentioned earlier, we also asked the architects to design the gymnasium, a gymnasium. Now, they came in with a proposed GMP for the gymnasium, $1,495,454. At this point, I can't recommend it yet because, it wasn't in the original plans. We haven't identified funds to fund it yet, but it's, to be honest with you, Enrique's absolutely right. The current gym is,
It needs it, but you need to find funding.
yes.
Yeah, the only thing is, can we see a picture of that restroom again, or is it just two restrooms? Because that's
Male and female.
$140,000.
It's male and females.
But it's just a single, there's two single rooms, aren't they?
Well, it's one classroom at this time. We do have 4 fixtures, 1 handicap accessible fixture, and then 3 commodes, and then on the.
Oh, so it's 3 commodes, but that's only
Yes.
for
staff, for all the teachers. And then on the other half would be 2 urinals and 2 commodes for the men.
One's a man's and one's a woman's.
Right.
Yes, halfway would be women and the other half for the men.
So at the point of, they need to use a restroom, a teacher would have to go upstairs. I think upstairs there's only one restroom.
Yeah.
And they really can't leave their class alone that long.
One thing we did include in this, in order to be able to remodel that area and build those restrooms, we are replacing the entire sanitary sewer line that goes under this
Okay.
corridor.
Yeah.
It's to be oversized.
Okay.
That was gonna be my next question, is you need to get it out, so where were you gonna get it out?
That-
Right.
Yeah, that is, that line is, like it's mentioned, close to 39, 41 years old.
And it's probably
So-
scheduled 20.
It was cast iron, back then it was a
Yeah.
cast iron line, and it does cause continuous problems for the maintenance department, so this would be the time to.
Yeah.
To replace
I
that.
agree.
What are the wishes of the committee?
I just have one comment, if I may. I've been with my, for the record. I know this Troutman Gym alternate 2, we haven't identified a funding source yet, but I'm committed to going back to the board and talking to them about including this gym alternate as part of the plan. Construction starts, and if this is not included in the plan, I'm afraid that eventually, at some point, we may have to start the construction process again, which, if you've ever been to Troutman Elementary, either in the morning or in the afternoon, it's very hectic currently with all the traffic and all the pickup and drop off of the kids. So that gym that they currently have is half the size of, I guess it's about half the size of what a standard gym is today. It's made of a plastic floor or rubber floor, and it's actually on springs. And so the gym moves. The kids don't use it for any of their games. They don't practice on it. They were practicing in the breezeway. A lot of the teams that they have during the fall and in the spring, they have the basketball leagues and the volleyball leagues going on. They used to practice in the breezeway. That's going to be closed down. I'd really like the committee to consider the gym addition. From what I understand, this guaranteed price will be open till, I think, what, November?
I believe you said you told it till November.
October, November. I'd like to see about including it in the committee's recommendation to the full board, because it makes sense. The kids utilize these facilities, a lot. We have arguments about Troutman Middle School's gyms, United Middle School gyms. There's just not enough room and for the recreation of these kids. And not only that, but it could also be open to the community. As you know, I was able to get John Galo to commit to giving us that land, between the Troutman Middle and Troutman Elementary, that park back. The committee's going to be able to use that, and I believe that this gym will also be utilized by the committee, after school and after hours. I know it's costly, but it's a necessity at this point. I think these kids deserve that.
No, I think you're right in the fact that it makes sense, and while they're there, the only thing is, I think we have to look at, later on the line, are the funds available? So simply I told my wife, do we have the money for that?
That's great.
Where are we gonna get the money from?
I understand, and I appreciate the work that y'all have done. I hear everywhere, well, not everywhere, but many times I turn around, I have somebody making these comments about, all the employees are getting all these raises because they're spending the bond money.
No.
It's not true. I appreciate the work that y'all do. This is really an integral part of the oversight of this administration, of this bond administration. But I will go back to the board and I will talk to them about, getting a funding source. But I would really like, at some point that either you approve. I don't want to lose alternate one. I really don't. But if I need to bring it back to the committee, at least we have open minds to consider this alternate two once we can identify some funding sources. I know with a lot of these projects, the way they're priced out, many times we have surpluses at the end of the bond. So hopefully, maybe from there, we can find something. But
Well, I think the staff doesn't want to lose alternate one, that's for sure.
No.
well, we need it. The teachers, if you've ever
That's
been to
important.
Troutman, it's one of the first schools. It's got an underground area, and the teachers have to run up and down
Yeah.
the stairs. They can't use the restroom. There's only maybe one or two for staff. So, it's really needed. I think even the nurse's office has only one bed currently, and our standard is about 3 beds at elementary. So this gym, on this issue on the gym, it would bring it up to standard with all the other elementary schools. All the other elementary schools have their gymnasiums, and Troutman will be the only school that does not have a standard gymnasium. So just comments.
And was this ever considered in the bond?
No, it's back then when they were first designing it, no, sir. When they were coming up with the master plan, no.
Do we have an idea, Mr. Z, as to where the funding will come from? Do you have a option 1, 2, and 3 type of?
We kind of have, and I kind of discussed it with Mr. Montemayor. I mean, there's several things we can do. Of course, we've seen some savings so far with the GMPs that have come in, but you don't know what happens 4 years down the road. You don't know what you're going to encounter. There's a couple of options that we could probably work through. At this point, I have to agree with Mr. Montemayor. If the bond committee would like to approve our current recommendation with adding that the board should seriously consider alternate number 2, locating funding source from whatever, either
While construction is going on.
right,
Or one and everything else.
and we will go back and we'll look for some funding options through our finance department and see what we can come up with. And then once we do come up with a recommendation as far as where to fund it from, we could bring it back to the bond committee to say, yeah, we have the funds available. I think we should issue the contract for the full amount of the GMP.
I'd like to
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the GMP for this project with alternative 1. And as far as alternative 2 goes, that we go ahead and make that go forward, subject to the availability of funding as identified by staff.
To second that?
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action to approve guaranteed maximum price for Clark Middle School Band Hall Edition. I was looking up there trying to read it and going, okay, it's not up there.
Somehow I lost the agenda here on, so
Mhm.
Bob will come over here. Bob is not responding.
Yeah, something's going on with that
We do have
thing.
a PowerPoint.
Now it's logging off. Now it's logging off.
Go to the Elmo, to the Elmo bump.
The thing is, I need the PowerPoint.
The PowerPoint presentation. Okay, in the meantime, just to cover what's on the action agenda item. Okay, this is probably one of the smaller additions, renovations in the bond program at Clark Middle School, because recently in the previous bonds, we did make major renovations to Clark Middle School. New gymnasiums, new cafetoriums, and at that time, back in the early 2000s, we did build a new band hall, but the program has been so popular that it really it has, in the last 12, 13 years, outgrown the existing facilities. So during the Citizens Committee, parents from Clark Middle requested that an addition be considered just for the band hall. So that is what this is, would entail. As you see on the agenda item, we did receive a guaranteed maximum price in the amount of $288,186. That includes a contingency allowance of $15,000. Originally, we started with a little larger area, but we had to value engineer, we had to downsize it to try to get it as close as possible to the budget without really sacrificing the area for students. At this time, we do have a GMP that is over the budget of, currently we have a construction budget of about $210,000, because the total budget was $260,000, but we had to set aside some funds for the geotechnical and materials testing, for the design of architect engineering fees, as well as some items that had to be done for planning purposes. So we ended up with a net amount of $210,000 for construction. So we are recommending the committee consider this guaranteed maximum price, even though it's a little bit higher than our budget. For really, there's not anything else much that we can reduce from that addition. It's down to the bare bones. It is high in cost, but we did check. The cost turnkey from the contractor is $156 a square foot. The RS means cost for this type of work is $172. So it is about 25% below that ongoing rate. One of the reasons it is high because it not only involves the new construction, but there is quite a bit of demolition when you have to add on to the existing building. We have to expand the air conditioning and the systems, life safety. So you can see now we do have the floor plan. There's a photo there of this is the existing band hall at Clark Middle School. And you can see it's very, very small. It's about 15 to 20% smaller than our prototype middle schools. Just over the years, it really has grown, this program. We do have a site plan of the blue dark shaded area. That would be where we would add to the band hall.
What's the square footage on the addition?
On the addition, it's about 1,150 square feet. That's the net area inside.
And is it just square footage that you're adding?
That is correct, yes. Now, it is kind of complicated because this section has two levels of metal roof on the existing building, on the band hall. So we do have to make quite a bit modifications to the existing roof, to the structure. We would be adding exterior walls, and it's a very high ceiling, obviously for the band hall system, but when you do expand something like this, everything on the shaded area has to be new, starting from site work. We do have to do over excavation and bring in select fill, foundations, soundproofing for all the perimeter walls. And like I mentioned, here's the existing building, and this would be, in addition, it would be a little bit lower than the existing roof because we don't need that much height. So we try to design it as efficiently and as cost effective as possible without really affecting the ability to function properly. But this is looking at the north elevation. And here's a breakdown on the guaranteed maximum price. We do have the allowance of $15,000 plus a negotiated fee for the construction management risk. It is a higher percentage because it's a small project. It involves a lot of overhead just to do this. And this is almost 1 year project, by the way, because even though it's at 1,200 square feet, it has to be done while school is in session. So limited hours of operation throughout the year, limited access. So if we start the project this summer, it really is projected to open for August of 2016. And especially because it's something that is adjacent to an existing building. What would happen is we would build everything on the outside without demolishing the current exterior wall.
Right.
So all this construction will be going right outside. Next summer, 2016, we would demolish everything in here and bring in ceilings, and it's a lot of work that has to be done in a very condensed time period of June and July of 2016 to really do all of these finishes in the connecting area.
And I've already, excuse me, I've included a worksheet to show right now the overage over the construction budget that we have is $78,000. Now, if we don't use any of the contingency, you're looking at $63,000. But that's where we stand now. We really can't value engineer it down much more than that. We've already done quite a bit of that, and trust me, that's not where it started.
No, because originally the committee and the teachers and the parents wanted also to enlarge the ensemble area. Very integral part of the whole band area, but that would have added over $100,000, so we had to stick to basically just the main rehearsal band area. So we cut that section out. We do have the plans. One day in the future, if funds are available, that can be expanded. At this time, it's mainly just the practice area. The ensemble area right now would have been built right here. But we went through a series of several design reductions to be able to get it as low as possible. And the cost, like I mentioned, it is $156 per foot. Very, very reasonable versus $172, which is really the RS means. But something like this would cost, keep in mind all of these are 30-year metal roofing, exterior masonry walls, interior masonry, and a lot of soundproofing. Very expensive type of building materials.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and make a
Just a
motion.
minute. You said the cost is $156?
Yes, now,
And
that's for the actual building cost that we're adding the new
That's
addition.
$1,150.
Yes, and
Okay,
what
but I'm
happens,
looking at the budget here, it says basic building cost $221. If I multiply 1150 times 156, that's 179,000.
well, the reason it comes out higher, sir, is because on that cost that we have, like I mentioned, we have to upgrade some of the systems that are in the main building. For example, like the fire alarm and the fire alarm system.
So that's not part of the square footage.
Yes, it's like a cost per square foot would be very difficult to estimate just for that section here, because in order to protect this area, we have to enlarge the entire main panel for the entire school.
Okay, well now that clarifies your
Yes.
question, because I had costed it out and I did the math, and it's about 185
Right.
square foot.
Yes, some of those items that involve really the existing school have to be taken out of that equation, because it would not be correct to add it as just the increase, because they affect.
I understand, I
Right.
mean, now you're
That's
gonna
why.
go back and adhere to code now that wasn't there in the past. The other question I have for you is this. This contractor has how much, $480 million worth of work?
Huge, I can't remember off the
I
top
mean,
of
it's
my
a,
head.
it's a
At
huge
least
amount, and then,
408.7.
when we're looking at, you know, I think most of the other, and I understand the other projects are large projects at 8.75, all of a sudden we go to 20 on a small project? How about 10 or 11? You know, it is a little bit longer, but I mean, obviously, when you look at the length of the whole thing, When you look at the, you know, it just, you know,
One of the reasons that, that was brought up when the CMAR contract was negotiated with this particular contractor. And you're gonna see probably the next 3 or 4 projects that are in that dollar range are gonna be between 18 to 25% on their fee. The reason is because they've gotta have a foreman and a job superintendent running, overseeing this practically about a 1 year. And the overhead that it takes, it's almost like they've got to have an office there, they've got to have the staff for an entire year working. A lot of the work is going to have to be done after hours. So I think that 20% comes out to be about 47,000.
47,000.
So that's really spread over a year, and that's really the best rate that we could negotiate at the time.
Overtime out.
It's mainly because of that.
Time to start to work.
I think a lot of the equipment, there has to be a lot of equipment that has to be operated limited hours, but has to be there the entire year. So those are all these things in the overhead that really affect it.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the GMP for Clark Middle School Band Hall addition.
And the amount of?
In the amount of 288, 186.40, correct?
Number 28640.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action to approve RFP 016215 on elementary school surveillance cameras and access controls.
Yes, good afternoon, members of the board. I apologize for Bill Gates' update, a few minutes ago. Something that we were not counting on, but it happened. Thank God we have a backup, so I apologize for that. The item that you have in front of you is phase 1 of our surveillance cameras and access control project. Access controls will be installed in an average of 4 to 5 perimeter doors. What is an access control? So typically you have your key, your card, you scan it, and if you are authorized to enter the building, you can go in. We are combining it with a surveillance system so that the camera will be able to take a picture or video of the person coming into the campus. At any time, the principal or the assistant principal can tell who has come into the building and who has left the building. It allows, for example, to open doors remotely as well. The principal, if let's say there's an activity on a Saturday and somebody forgot the key, the principal can unlock it and lock it remotely. Or you can program, for example, I want at 5 o'clock all my doors to lock automatic. So the perimeter doors that are the ones that, the key ones for going in and out, will be part of the access controls. The cameras, we have an average of 22 cameras per campus, but 16 of those cameras have 4 lenses, which makes it 4 cameras. It saves us money in not having to run additional cable, additional electrical, additional plugins on our network, because every drop costs a lot of money. So we save money like that. So we're talking about anywhere from 68 to 72 cameras total once you start multiplying that. So there will be a lot of recording going on at the campus. We keep about a month of the video based on our server's capacity, a month to a month and a half sometimes. So this was bid out on an RFP, and the vendor that is being recommended by the committee was composed of my staff from information technology and Mr. Rangel's staff from the alarm side and from the access controls. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
That $2.7 million is just for school number 27?
No, that's for elementary campuses, sir, for 27 elementary campuses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for all the elementary campuses, including the cameras and the access controls, both of them. Our total budget for that, including the school number 27 budget, is $5,030,740. So we're spending 2.7 million, so we still have 2.2 million left for the secondary campuses, which will be your high schools, which take a lot of cameras, but we'll be able to bring it under budget.
Again, these are for the existing campuses, correct?
Yes, sir, that's for existing campuses,
It's for existing campuses.
and also school 27, sir. It's included there.
That's right, I was gonna
We
mention
bid it
that.
all together.
This price includes the cost for the new elementary school on Cielito Lindo Boulevard, number 27.
Number 27.
What are the wishes of the committee?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the RFP for the surveillance cameras and access controls not to exceed $2,783,886.47.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of a wide area network firewall, intrusion detection, and prevention network equipment for the district's main data center.
Yes, this project is included now that we are in the process of upgrading 8 campuses and probably another 6 on the second phase. One of the things that we need to do is to increase our firewall capabilities and our intrusion detection. What does that mean? We're constantly receiving attacks from the outside, people that try to break into our finances, report cards, a lot of sensitive data that we have. We have almost 7,000 employees with social security number information, payroll, all those kind of things. So this will help us continue with the growth of our network and also to protect it for the next 12 to 15 years. These units that we're suggesting to you. We bid it out and the total is we're doing 2 different vendors because we found out that it will be cheaper with the 2 different ones. So the total project is $189,276.81, and that is included on the network upgrade portion of the bond. I don't know if you have any questions.
So it's M1 Networks and Superior Alarms?
That was on the surveillance vendor.
Oh.
Yes.
You said 2 different vendors.
Inside
Public sector, oh, okay. And we'd be using 2 different vendors to do
Yes.
this work?
Yes, it's 2 totally different units, so we figure out that we'll save quite a bit of money by doing it like that separate.
And the equipment will properly talk to each other and not fight each other like?
Yes, no, hopefully not, hopefully not, but it will protect us from outside attacks.
What is the total, 189,000?
Yes, sir, 189,276.81.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the network firewall for the total of $189,276.81.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion possible action to approve RFQ CQ 01415 UPS and PDU for Alexander High School, United Middle School, Trotman Middle School, 6th grade, Clark Middle School, Newman Elementary, Muller Elementary, Matias de Ano Elementary.
Thank you. This project, this section was included on a previous RFP that was already approved by the bond oversight and approved by our board members. And we were getting ready to send the award letter. The vendor realized that they had not included the right amount of components when they bid it out.
If
So-
the committee recalls I believe it was last month, excuse me, we actually brought over an item to rescind a previous award. I believe this
Yes,
is the
sir.
one that's not going to replace it now. We ended up getting quotes for that section.
So our purchasing department went for request for quotes. And out of the 3 vendors, we recommended Inside Public Sector in the amount of $132,506. Just to explain what UPSs and PDUs are. UPSs are uninterruptible backup power supply. Those are the ones that we use on our schools. So when you have a little flash, you don't lose the whole network. It's able to tolerate close to 15 to 20 minutes before our bigger batteries kick in. And the PDUs, if you can picture a power strip like the ones you use at your house, but these have a lot of all kind of protection as far as having electricity issues, things like that. And we use them in our closets for the network equipment. So if you give us the approval, we'll be able to proceed with that project.
And it's for 8 different campuses?
Yes, ma'am. 8 different schools.
What was the correction on it? What was it last time?
What happened, excuse me, what happened, an award was made to a certain company. They came back later, I believe, and said, well, we made a mistake.
we made a mistake.
We can't honor that price. So we went ahead and asked the Bond Oversight Committee and eventually the board to rescind the award of that section only. And now we're coming back with quotes that we received from, these were
Yes.
DIR vendors?
Three DR vendors.
Yeah, so we can get the competitive pricing for these, and now we're asking the Bond Oversight to approve this section.
The 132,000.
That's correct.
Yes,
To reapprove.
yes, that's what it is.
And which are the 8 schools?
They're Alexander High School, United Middle,
Oh, yeah, I just
Trumman
read
Middle.
them.
Yeah, the ones that were on here.
Yeah, Trumman Middle.
My
sixth
brain, I'm
grade.
sorry,
It's
guys,
all
I'm
right.
having a fog
It's all right.
brain.
Motion to approve the $132,406.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
All the new schools are gonna have this already built in, right? In what they're doing?
On the new ones.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is 27 the first one that's gonna get it?
yes.
Discussion and possible action to approve a supplemental agreement to increase the guaranteed maximum price for elementary school number 27.
Members of the bond committee and members of the audience, this item has to do with elementary school 27, Cielito Lindo Elementary School. There are 2 parts of the recommendation that we have. Basically, what this involves is additional scope of work that has been requested by 2 different areas. One is the city of Laredo as far as utilities work, and the second one is additional kitchen equipment that is necessary for providing the new menus that are being dictated by the federal government on our campuses. There's a description here of the proposed change order. And again, this change order, it's really additional scope of work, but it's going to be funded through the contingency allowance. It will not change the overall contract amount that we have with the contractor for the elementary schools. There is a contingency, construction contingency within that amount of the contract. But every time we use that contingency for anything that comes up, our attorneys recommended that it be submitted as a supplemental agreement. And this was prepared by our attorneys in such a manner that it's documented as to how these construction contingencies are being used in the overall contract.
I believe we issued 1 contract for 5 schools?
Correct. Well, it's for the 5 new schools and 2 replacements.
And 2
all set.
replacements for all elementary schools. We issue 1 contract, and there's 1 large contingency amount in there. So the overall cost or the contract is not going to change, but we're asking to take a piece of that, 1.4 million or whatever it was in contingency to fund this change order. One other point I'd like to make, the $60,000 of kitchen equipment, even though we're including it with the contract, so it can just be turnkey through 1 contractor, that section will be funded by our food service department. That and the 10% GC fee and the 1.2% bond cost of that $60,000 will be funded out of our food service department and not bond proceeds. It's really just the first 2 items that are bond proceeds.
Can you, on that additional utilities off-site, what is it that they're asking
Okay,
for?
and we have the backup on all that utility work that was required, but it's quite intensive. There are 2 parts to it. One is the off-site, which is from our property line, having to do everything on the surrounding areas. It mainly involves sanitary sewer connections. We do have to bore under the street, under, I think, St. Luke, to go under to the nearest, closest manhole that's located on the north side. It does involve all of that work, plus any connections that are needed and upgrades of that manhole. The reason when the property, this is coming up now, we've been working really back and forth with the engineers and the city for the last 3 months. But when the property was platted back in June, July of last year, the plans at that time were to connect through a different source. There is a sanitary sewer on the southwest This is on the north side. Even though the plat was approved, once the project started under construction, the city utilities department felt it was much better for the overall function to direct all of our wastewater towards the north. And really, we cannot disagree, it is best for the future as that area gets developed. It may not be a big difference at this point, but down the road, when all that area gets developed, housing units, the school will function much better with this system. So our own consulting engineers agreed with the engineers under the design builder. We analyzed it, and it made a lot of sense. So we are upgrading that offsite utility, but the big bulk of that cost is the boring under the street. It's a major expense because we don't want to cut that.
What's the size of the line?
I believe that line is going to be a 12-inch sanitary sewer line. Yes, sir.
The next question I had was on the kitchen equipment. What is it that you're doing there?
We're adding some additional equipment. What do you may want to?
Additional, sorry, good evening,
I'm gonna come over here so we can get it on the camera.
Good evening, Bond Oversight Committee members. The additional equipment that we're talking about is some double convection ovens in order for us to maximize our productivity. And also, we're adding an additional vegetable steamer. Currently, the Department of Agriculture is requiring us to feed additional vegetables, and this particular piece of equipment just ensures the food quality, better food quality to provide for our students, that's our major source of people that we feed, of the kids.
If the kids eat them, let me know.
That's what we all.
That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're hoping, yeah. That's what.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you all have any other questions? What are the wishes of the committee?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the recommendation by staff, increase the amount of money that they are requesting, $164,185.93.
Second?
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
Current bond status, project status report. No, sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm used to seeing it big up there.
There you go. Good evening,
Current
bond
bond
committee
project
members.
status. Go ahead.
Good evening, bond committee members, members of the audience. I'll be presenting the current bond project status report, starting with the elementary school number 28. Since we're basically just starting, we're going to have some small percentages of work shown here, but the contractor is on site and he's already started clearing. So construction projects to date, we have it at 0.5%. There have been no days or time extension requested, but by the sound of it out there, I wouldn't.
We'll be getting a call from Gary
I
tomorrow
wouldn't
morning.
be surprised if we start getting some calls. And now the contractual completion date is August 26, 2016, which is our substantial completion. And I'm going to run just through a few pictures, a few slides of pictures of basically the site as it's being cleared. As you can see, the earthwork has begun, and the building pad for the actual building is in progress, as well as throughout the entire site. We've already established the boundaries, so like I said, it's pretty limited right now because we've just started.
That's a 0.5%.
Yeah. Any questions on 28?
Any-
Okay.
Okay, no,
Yes, located on Highway 359. I'll be the next project I'll be presenting is the middle school number 10, which is directly across the street from elementary school 28. And that one as well is at 0.1% completion. No time extensions to date, and August 2016 is the substantial completion date. And again, you're going to see pretty much more of the same. Any questions on the middle school number 10? All right, going on to the school that we have pretty well established, and our elementary school number 27, Cerrito Lindo subdivision. This project is at 70% completion. And as you recall, we did approve 45 days extension. So September 6th right now stands as the substantial completion date. And this is just a summary of the different areas, but I'm going to go ahead and just go through the photographs. And again, this report was put together by the project architect. And as I've mentioned in the past, our consultants have been visiting the site and producing reports on a monthly basis. This shows some of the millwork that's already being installed. You have some of the paint, some of the walls being painted down the corridors. Most of the millwork is already stored on site and just ready for installation. Some of the restrooms are already tiled. Mechanical rooms where their equipment is already are being completed. Got some use of the gymnasium walls. Some of the ductwork that's ongoing. Some of the corridors. This is a view of the exterior of the drive, and they do have partial, 50% of the drive, the loop, already finished. And that's basically it for elementary school number 27. Do you have any questions on that? Okay, now I'll be presenting on United Ninth Grade campus. This project right now is at 7% completion, and no days have been requested for extension, and the substantial completion date remains at December 10th, 2016. Pfluger and Frank Architects are the architects of record for this project, and they have as well conducted their inspections and provided a report basically indicating that that the project is underway, and they're already starting with the building pad. As you can see, most of the site work has already been cleared, most of the site, and construction's already begun on the building pad itself. Any questions on the Ninth Grade campus, United? And now to United South Ninth Grade. This project is approximately 13% complete. There have been no days requested for extension, and substantial completion date remains July 15, 2016. Again, Frank Architects, together with Pfluger, are the architects of record, and we already have certain areas of this. We already started the concrete pours for a section of the slab, and they continue prepping, more sections for pour. This is a general overview of some of the areas. And you can see on these maps, on these presentations, we do have a legend which indicates which area of the building is being poured or worked on, for reference.
It's looking good.
Very good. And that wraps up my report. Do you have any questions?
When will they be starting on the Alexander Ninth Grade?
Well, the Alexander Ninth Grade right now, we're still working with getting access to the site. And I believe we've already established that, and the contractor will be clearing soon the access to it, and we'll be fencing that easement, and as well as our site. But it works in a way where we're going to, they're gonna have to build another fence in order to access, plus a gate to the site. So that's in the works. So we're anticipating hopefully within the next month.
Well, and I don't know, it wasn't on the agenda, but I apologize for bringing it up, but it's.
Yeah, we hope to bring that to you soon, so.
Yeah, one of the items, we're still waiting to develop or receive a guaranteed maximum price on the project. So officially, we really haven't issued a notice to proceed. And the reason we don't have a guaranteed price at this time is we are really kind of dependent on the developer, which is Killam Development at this time. They're working extensive development all around our campus. It's a major development that is required. They are about 70% on their development engineering plans. They should be completed according to Killam Development. They're telling us by the end of July. Once they have all that engineering information, then we can continue with our engineering plans and our architectural plans. So, but we are, like Mr. Alanis mentioned, starting clearing the access and probably the property. But that's as much as we can do at this time.
Mr. Alanis, I think I was speaking to someone, and over the last 4 months, I think there's been rain in the forecast on a weekly basis. Has that hindered you a lot, or have you been able to work around that?
No, definitely, it's been a very rough year, as you know. I think it was 150 days, I believe is the last number I heard of delays. So the contractor in certain areas, like in 27 where there's already partially, roofed, you do have them working inside, but it is difficult for them to work site, even access the area. And not to mention some of the projects that just showed are going to be affected, especially after a rain like this, for at least a week, I would think, because the conditions are just very muddy. So, but it has been documented, and we are aware what the contractor, he's still plugging away. He's still trying to do his best.
They are committed to completing the elementary school 27 by August, so to open it this fall. Even though we're at 70%, but that's, like Mr. Landecker mentioned, contingent upon weather getting a little better in the next 2 months. But the interior, I think we're in good condition. It's just the exterior, the site work, and parking, and the roof.
We've had a project, we've had only 13 days of no rain straight, 13 dry days. That's crazy.
Right.
But we're blessed.
I'll take the bad with the good.
And they said it was too hot.
Thank you, Mr. Alanis. Any more questions of Mr. Alanis? Thank you. The bond program financial report, Mrs. Benavides.
Good evening, members of the committee and the audience. For the record, Lida Benavides. We have our business committee report, our bond oversight committee report as of April 25th, and probably the main changes from the last time is probably towards the bottom, sir, on renovations. If you just compare it to last month, that's where you'll see the big changes in percentage. We added, I guess we cut purchase orders for the projects at United High School 9th grade, which were HVAC projects, and at Brantley Hall, which is located next to 9 Elementary. Both of those added up to close to $200,000, so that's where you see an increase on our HVAC renovation expenditure and encumbrance line item. And then the last one was $100,000 added to our campus renovations, and those were 3 small projects. Kennedy Zapata was $24,000, Gonzalez Middle School $37,000, and Clark Elementary School $37,000. And those have been projects that have been brought to the brought to the committee. They're pretty much safety improvements. Some of them are parking lot lights. Most of them are parking lot lights for safety. And so you'll be seeing the numbers get bigger. Right now, we're still pending the GMPs for the Highway 359 Middle School, which you already saw kind of in progress right now. That's a lot of movement, of earth movement. We have, I guess that's the other big line item that changed from last month was land improvements for our Highway 359 East Elementary. And I think Mr. Alani showed you all the pictures of what's going on out there. So there is some land improvements that have to be done in that area. We did get with Mr. Rangel, and he recommended to us some budget movements within a project, not necessarily from one project to another. Now that we know what our construction cost is, at the very last page of the section, we were able to allocate the different amounts that are going to be tied closer to what we're going to be spending. At the new elementary, we kind of reallocated some funds, put some more money in furniture and equipment, and also, I think that's the biggest move. And then Newman Elementary, we made some changes there to align it with more of the work that's being done there. And also the Troutman Elementary additions, which were talked about this earlier this evening. And so those, but again, those are just movements within the project itself of the dollar amounts. And it kind of helps us really see if we're within budget. We will start seeing Courtney Flores Jackson issuing purchase orders for the furniture and equipment for the new school. And Mr. Bettis will be also issuing his purchase orders for the technology equipment that's going to be going into that school as well. So that's the movement we'll start seeing in the next, 2 months to get that school going. So I don't know if anybody has any specific questions.
Do y'all have any questions, committee members? Thank you, Mrs. Benavides.
Thank you.
Open agenda item, is there anything any committee member would like to bring forth? The date for our next committee meeting? What are y'all looking at? What date?
Well, June 1st is the first Monday of the month, but we may,
No.
I don't know if you want to move it maybe to June 8th. The following Monday, which is June 15th, we're actually moving our board meeting from that Wednesday up to that Monday. So June
Okay.
15th wouldn't be available.
Okay, so June the 8th, will be ready for us by then?
I believe so.
Okay, and June the 8th for our next meeting? Did it?
Second Monday in June?
The June the 1st is the first Monday. Did anybody sign up for public comments? Then our meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.